Good evening, I'm Jason Vio. Katarina is away tonight. Here's what's making news right now.
Honestly, I just thought it was something I could just easily take an antibiotic for or something. They shouldn't have had to sit there that long in pain.
They toured pretty much all of Canada. I'm sure they did some US gigs, but they were, I guess, an influence in that people can actually make a living doing this.
Thanks for joining us. Across the province, people are sharing stories about lengthy waits at hospital emergency departments. Some of the longest are right here in our city. And tonight we'll hear from one local woman who says she spent 19 hours waiting in the local ER. CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa spoke with her and joins me live now outside of Windsor Regional Met Campus, the ER there. Jen, how long are waits at local hospitals?
Jason, people that come here to this ER are waiting on average more than 5 hours to see a doctor. And back in May, that was the longest average wait time in the province. For months now, Windsor Regional Hospital has been warning people of those long waits, telling them, that if they don't need an ER, that they should really go to a walk-in clinic or a family doctor. But for one patient, this ER was her only option.
They shouldn't have had to sit there that long in pain.
At the end of June, Chantel McNeil waited nearly 20 hours at Windsor Regional Hospital's ER. Stabbing back pains pushed her to seek care. Having just moved to Windsor in May, McNeil is on a wait list for a family doctor. So she went to a walk-in clinic and was then told to go to the ER. 8 hours into her wait, exhaustion, hunger, and intensifying pain forced her to leave.
And I left. My husband picked me up, and I got in the car, took a drink, and I blacked out.
Her husband flagged down a nearby ambulance, which took her back to the ER. She waited 11 more hours in the ER before getting a bed. She says she went without food or water and noticed there weren't too many nurses around. McNeil has since been diagnosed with kidney cancer.
They could have been more considerate of how I was feeling and asking if I needed something for the pain or just in general see if I was okay.
Windsor Regional Hospital wouldn't comment on the story. The Ontario Medical Association says it's one of many hospitals in the province with a stressed ER. Staff shortages, burnout, and increased patient demand are all part of the strain.
Every community is experiencing physician shortages. We know that every community is experiencing nurses exiting the profession. People inside the healthcare team are high capacity, compassionate, intelligent, hardworking people whose job it is to care for you, and they want to care for you, but they are strapped inside of a healthcare system that has extreme pressures and strains.
But for patients like McNeil, they want to see change.
Something needs to be done with it because too many people are going without care, and I know they really need it.
The Ontario Medical Association says that they are advocating for solutions. So in the short term, they're looking to bring on more internationally trained healthcare graduates, and in the long term, increase more medical student and trainee spots. But they said part of what's contributing to this is also that backlog of surgeries, 22 million that happened due to COVID-19. And so what they're actually suggesting are standalone surgical centers. These are spots that people would go to get those day or non-urgent surgeries. And they're saying that this would help free up hospitals. Jason.
Thanks for this, Jen. The CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa reporting live for us tonight. Ontario's speech from the throne today warns of economic pressures to come, and while it mentions healthcare, makes no new specific commitments. But there is more money for parents. The CBC's Lorenda Redicott brings us all of those details.
This ER nurse was hoping to hear about improvements for healthcare in today's throne speech.
We have no beds we can't accommodate. There's no bed space for patients who are very sick. There's no place to see patients. Waiting rooms are packed. There's patients that could be waiting on ambulance stretchers for several hours. This is actually putting Ontarians' health at risk, and a lot of lives could be lost.
Healthcare was mentioned, though no specific new measures added or extra money, though the government had this message read by the Lieutenant Governor.
Your government is actively engaging with health system partners to identify urgent, actionable solutions and will implement whatever measures are needed to help ease immediate pressures.
Nurses were previously given a one-time payment of up to $5,000. The finance minister was asked why nothing new was added, given higher inflation and the worsening situation in healthcare.
Well, we've been doing a lot of things. Of course, there's always more to do. There's no question, and I will continue to monitor the economic environment that we're in.
The government also warned of tough times to come, given inflation.
Ontario, like the rest of Canada and North America, must be prepared for the possibility of a near-term economic slowdown.
Parents of school children will be getting more for tutoring supports, $225 million over 2 years.
To help fill gaps in learning for students after 2 years of pandemic disruptions.
But so far, no details on who will qualify or how much they'll get. The government also confirmed an election promise on disability supports, an extra 5% for ODSP. It's still well below the cost of living, around $1,200 a month.
The question is, what can we do for the people of Ontario that are the most vulnerable? This is a step in the right direction.
The opposition wanted to see changes to the budget initially tabled in April.
Inflation has gone up and health care has gone down the tubes. The government had a chance to table a new budget to deal with these crises, and Doug Ford chose not to.
Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
The Canada Revenue Agency typically takes our money around tax time, but in a strange twist, they actually have a pile of uncashed checks that belong to 9 million Canadians. The federal tax agency says those checks on the books are worth $1.4 billion, and it's time to get that cash to its rightful owners. So if you're one of those nearly 9 million Canadians who is owed money by the CRA, watch your inbox. They say they're going to be notifying those people in the coming months. Now, some of those payments date back to 1998. And the average amount of those uncashed checks is $158. With supply chain issues and labor shortages hitting the construction industry, that could mean delays for the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge. The CBC Windsor's Jacob Barker has the latest.
I was on hand here about a year ago when they marked 1,000 days of construction on the project. At the time, I did ask bridge officials if they were on time and on budget. They said that it would take some time before they understood the impact that COVID-19 was having on the project.
Now it looks like some of that impact is coming to light. The Windsor-Detroit Bridge Authority is warning of possible delays, and the Windsor Star is citing a new S&P report that says the bridge opening, which was supposed to be open by the end of 2024, could be pushed back to April 2025. That's no surprise to those on this side of the border that are doing the construction.
Since the things have opened up, there's just so much volume out there we're trying to catch up to. So as are all the material suppliers. So it has been really challenging to get all the materials in a timely manner to run any job, let alone that big bridge job.
The Bridge Authority says it's assessing the impact the pandemic has had on the project schedule, but says it continues to work toward opening the bridge to traffic by the contracted date of the end of 2024. It says BNA, or Bridging North America, the contractor building the bridge, is obligated to meet the contract date to have the bridge open. Lyons hopes government will go easy on the project if it were to go past the due date and would minimize any penalties.
Whether or not the government holds them to the liquidated damages clauses they have in these deals, or they actually say, yeah, this is well beyond your control. It wasn't like you could have ever predicted COVID or a world war and some of the other things that have had impacts on the price and the supply of these materials that you need to build the bridge.
Nearby Sandwichtown is also poised to benefit from the project given its proximity to the bridge. I spoke with someone with the Business Improvement Association who understands if delays do happen.
I think just like if the past couple of years have taught us anything, it's we need to be as adaptable as possible. And when you have something that's as important as that second span come in, currently at the business level, I have had no concerns or no issues raised for any of the BIA businesses about a 6-month delay.
I did also ask Lyons if he expected that $5 billion plus price tag for the project to go up. He did say that he expected costs to exceed that initial estimated value. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
The man behind an iconic Canadian punk band has been found dead, and his son has been charged with his murder. 65-year-old Gord Lewis was found dead in his Hamilton apartment over the weekend. He founded the band Teenage Head in the 70s and was considered to be a pioneer in Canada's punk rock scene. Hamilton police say they have charged 41-year-old Jonathan Lewis with second-degree murder.
Occasionally bands from Toronto, Hamilton, and other areas would come to towns. People managed to promote them. And Teenage Head was booked to play the Ambassador Auditorium at the University of Windsor, and the Spies were supposed to be opening for them. And we were pre-drinking at our rehearsal space, getting ready to go to the show to see the Spies and Teenage Head. And then we got the call the Spies were in a car accident, and they said, would you guys want to open for them? So we just grabbed our stuff and went to the University of Windsor, and we were the opening act for Teenage Head. They certainly were. They were from Hamilton. There were bands from Toronto, but Teenage Head had records out, I believe, in like 1976, and we didn't even start till 77. So we all knew who they were. We'd heard their records being played on the university radio station. Picture My Face comes to mind. But they were one of the bands that actually toured around, and they toured pretty much all of Canada. I'm sure they did some U.S. gigs, but they were, I guess, an influence in that people can actually make a living doing this, and they seem to do that.
In other news, Hockey Canada has appointed a Toronto-based lawyer to serve as interim chair of its board of directors. The organization has been facing intense public pressure for changes over its handling of the sexual assault allegations. Ashley Burke has more on the latest development.
Amid growing calls for Hockey Canada's leadership to resign and a major shakeup of the board of directors, the hockey organization has made one new appointment. Andrea Skinner is now the chair. She's a Toronto-based lawyer who has been on the board since 2020. Hockey Canada said she also played varsity hockey at Cornell University and later coached at the University of Ottawa. In a statement, Skinner said she believes Hockey Canada is taking positive steps to effect meaningful change. Now, this announcement is just the latest move by Hockey Canada to try and restore its credibility and public trust. And it comes just days after Hockey Canada's 13 regional hockey federations threatened to stop paying fees to Hockey Canada, saying that it was appalled over its handling of sexual assault allegations, and a fund in part made up of their registration fees being used to pay for some of the settlements. And that included a high-profile case of an alleged 2018 group sexual assault that allegedly involved 8 players, including some members of the World Junior team. Now, a parliamentary committee into Hockey Canada's handling of that case is set to resume at the latest by the fall. In the meantime, MPs from multiple parties continue to call on Hockey Canada's leadership to resign. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Another legal blow today for former U.S. President Donald Trump. A federal appeals court says a congressional committee has the right to see his tax returns. It follows an FBI search of Trump's home in Florida yesterday. CBC's Julia Wong has more on that and the reaction to it.
Eric Trump, the son of former President Donald Trump, says the raid was connected to presidential records. Now, the nature of those records is not known. It's also not clear what, if anything, was taken out of Mar-a-Lago. But we do know that presidential records are required to be turned over when a president leaves office. And there have been issues in the past of Trump failing to do that. Now, the reason why there are a few, some of the records are classified, others may have to deal with national security, but also they can be studied and assessed by historians. This morning, Trump released an election-style video. It's unclear when it was shot, but obviously noteworthy that it came out after this particular raid. In it, he says, "We are a nation that has weaponized law enforcement against the opposing political party." A former deputy assistant director at the FBI says certain thresholds must have been met for the search warrant to be signed off on and for it to have been executed. And he also suggests the timing may have been deliberate.
Traditionally, there's a 90-day buffer around an election time where DOJ does not tend to take overt investigative steps. Look at the dates we're talking about right now in early August. 3 months from now is Election Day. So I also have a feeling and have a sense that part of the timing about this search warrant yesterday was driven by potentially the approaching dates of the midterm elections.
Now, in response, Democratic politicians have said no one is above the law, including the president, but there has been a lot of blowback from Republican politicians as well as Republican voters. There have been several Republican governors chiming in, calling the raids alarming. And they also say, just like Trump, that the raids are a political weaponization of the U.S. Justice Department. There have been crowds outside Mar-a-Lago since this raid took place, some in support of the president and some not.
I'm out here, I'm happier than pie because this is about time that something like this has happened out here.
It's disturbing. It's very disturbing. The man did nothing while he was in office, and I think they're on a witch hunt again.
Officials are remaining pretty tight-lipped about this whole operation. The FBI and the Department of Justice have declined comment. Julia Wong, CBC News, Washington.
And returning to local news for a moment, there won't be a mayor in Kingsville until after the municipal election in October. Nelson Santos resigned as the town's mayor last month to take on a new municipal job near the GTA. Santos served as Kingsville's mayor for nearly 20 years. Last night, though, the town council voted to keep that position vacant until after the October 24th election. Deputy Mayor Gord Lewis will take on some of those mayoral responsibilities in the meantime. Still to come, lots of sunshine in the forecast. All of your weather details are coming up right after the break. Tennis star Serena Williams says she will retire from the sport following the U.S. Open. The 23-time Grand Slam champion revealed her decision in the upcoming issue of Vogue magazine. In it, she says, quote, "I have never liked the word retirement. I'm here to tell you that I'm evolving away from tennis." Also on her Instagram this morning, she posted, "My goodness, do I enjoy tennis, but now the countdown has begun. I have to focus on being a mom, my spiritual goals, and finally discovering a different but exciting Serena. I'm going to relish these next few weeks." She turns 41 next month, but is showing no signs of slowing down in what could be her last tournament in Canada.
She loves playing in Toronto, does Serena, and the fans love having her.
Williams earned her first victory of the year in the opening round of the National Bank Open in Toronto just yesterday. She defeated her Spanish counterpart in straight sets, 6-3, 6-4. Everyone loves to marvel at a beautiful sunset, and Prince Edward Islanders have been treated to some amazing ones recently. Even the sea life is stopping to take a look. Check this out. This is video into us from folks at the Stanley Bridge Marina. They say the seal was just basking on the dock. It showed up at around 5 p.m. and hung around until the next morning. A beautiful view for seals and humans alike.
All
Dahlia,
I see is a beautiful creature enjoying the water and some good weather.
I would have been the same, and what I would give to be there right now. What a beautiful sunset. And it's funny to see that he hung out there from 5 p.m. one night until the next morning. I mean, who wouldn't want to, right?
I mean, and that's right. And with the temperatures in Windsor, maybe someone will want to go out and watch the sunset this evening or tomorrow. I mean, it is a little humid today, but that will eventually cool down as the week progresses. It's nothing like we saw the past few days with that heat warning that was in effect. That has been lifted, and now we're sitting in the 30s. As we could see here yesterday and the day before that, we were sitting in the 40s. So things are cooling down. The normal high is 27 today, 30, the normal low 16, today 18. So that's what we want to see, some cooler temperatures. Windsor 24 degrees currently, Sarnia 21, Chatham-Kent 22, Goderich 20, and London 22. So in the low 20s right now. Now with that humid X, it brings up the temperature just a bit to 29 degrees. We were hearing about Serena Williams earlier. She's playing in Toronto on Wednesday. Luckily, she's not playing here today in Windsor because it's still a little humid. Sarnia 24, Chatham-Kent 27. Now, are we expecting rain this evening? Not so much. I mean, just some fog, which is fine. I mean, as you head into Tuesday on your commute to work, it's mostly clear skies, and that will go on for quite a while, even until Thursday morning and even Thursday afternoon. So for the most part, clear skies. There might be a chance of rain later throughout the week. Now, in terms of winds, they are gusting, I mean, fairly low in Windsor, 13 kilometers an hour. It's pretty calm winds right now, and that will be lasting until Wednesday morning. Now, overnight tonight, like I was saying, the weather will cool down. Temperatures will drop. In Windsor, 15 degrees, Leamington, 15, Chatham-Kent more on the cooler side, 10 degrees. Now, what to expect over the next few days? Dry conditions mostly. Sundays when there's about 40% chance of rain, so those dry conditions should be lasting. Enjoy it while it lasts. You have time until Sunday. You can turn off your AC and just bask in the sun a bit. It's a little bit more bearable than the 40 degrees. Jason?
Crack those windows open. Thanks so much, Dahlia.
Thank you, Jason.
Still to come here on CBC Windsor News at 6, deadly rainfall in South Korea's capital. We'll have those details coming up next. Some of the heaviest rainfall in decades has swamped South Korea's capital, killing at least 8 people. More than 450 millimeters fell in one area in less than 24 hours. Officials say 3 of those killed died in landslides. A 13-year-old girl was among another 3 people who drowned in a basement of a home. Several more people are missing. More downpours are forecast through Thursday, hampering search and rescue and cleanup operations. The Russian war on Ukraine is having far-reaching effects. We're experiencing it right here with high inflation that's driven by rising food prices and fuel. In other parts of the world, like the Central African Republic, those same factors are pushing the country toward famine and crushing economic hardship. The UN's World Food Program has issued a dire forecast for the country that has been ravaged by its own internal fighting.
There are now 2.2 million people who are acutely food insecure in the Central African Republic. When you look at the population size, that's nearly half the population. We expect a 30% increase in rice, a 67% increase for the price of wheat flour, and a staggering 70% increase in the price of vegetable oil. At the back of our minds as well is the impact that fuel, which is out of reach, high transport costs, is having on our own operations.
So we are in the perfect storm, as we call it. So definitely the numbers are not good. COVID-19 did not help. The picture is not rosy. It's really the impact of food security. How could we as FAO help countries to get out of the crisis? How could we do some of them at the global level, but also help regions and countries to maintain and implement those policies?
Without immediate funding, food and nutrition insecurity will only increase for millions of people.
His sister Fiona was born 6 weeks premature and made international news as the youngest hippo ever to survive. Now she's going to be sharing the spotlight with her little brother. Cincinnati zookeepers welcomed the new arrival last week and have been able to determine Fiona's sibling is male. The calf is believed to have weighed about 27 kilograms or roughly 60 pounds when he was born last week, but that's about twice what his premature sister weighed when she was born 5 years ago. There's no name just yet, but the zoo team is looking for suggestions, and it's likely Shrek will be a popular one. Well, that's it for CBC Windsor News. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget, for news anytime, head to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. We're on social media as well. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The Rick Mercer Report is coming up next. Have a great night.